Miss Goki. Today we are working on Lesson 7, the line joining two distinct points of the graph y equals mx plus b. Our outcomes are students show that the slope of a line joining any two distinct points of the graph of y equals mx plus b has slope m. Students graph equations in the form of y equals mx plus b using information about slope and y-intercept. So yesterday we learned how to graph using the slope formula, which is m equals the change in y over the change in x. So today we are going to learn how to graph a line by using an equation. So first of all, we want an equation in slope-intercept form, and that looks like y equals mx plus b. So it's going to be really important in this lesson when we're trying to graph a line. So there are 4 steps to graph slope-intercept form. Step 1 is we need to get our equation into slope-intercept form. Which, if you remember, is y equals mx plus b. Second of all, we need to determine the y-intercept and graph this point. Step 3 is we need to decide our slope and plot another point using the slope. Then number 4, we can simply draw the line. And of course, label. Oops, I spelled plot wrong here. So these are going to be steps that you're going to want to memorize because it's going to be very useful to have these steps and being able to just put an equation into y equals mx plus b and not having to use the slope formula every single time you want to figure out a slope and how you graph something. So what do these symbols stand for? So in y equals mx plus b, our m actually stands for the slope and our b is our y-intercept. Now these are going to be 2 important things to remember, that m equals slope and that b equals our y-intercept. So let's look at example 1 where we're going to use this. So example 1 says, graph the equation y equals x plus 3. A, name the slope and the y-intercept, and B, graph the known point, then use the slope to find a second point before drawing the line. So if we look back at our steps of how to graph, it says, 1, we need to get the equation into slope-intercept form. So if we look at our equation, it's already in y equals mx plus b. So we can just put it here, y equals x plus 3. Now our question is saying, name the slope and the y-intercept. So our slope is going to equal 1 because the 1 comes in front of the x. And if you remember, y equals mx plus b, this 1 would be the m and the 3 would be the b. So when we're finding our slope, we can simply just put the 1 that would be in front of this x as our slope. So our y-intercept is our b, and as you can see, our b is our 3, so our y-intercept is 3. So now we want to graph our known point. If our y-intercept is 3, that means it crosses the y-axis at 3. So that means our x point is going to be 0. So we can write this as a point as 0, 3. So let's graph 0, 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we only have 1 point, so we don't know where our line's going. The only thing we know is by looking at our slope's positive. So our line should be going from the left to the right. So it looks like we're running up a hill. So if our slope's 1, that means we can go up 1 and over 1 and plot a point. Up 1 and over 1, plot a point. Up 1 and over 1, plot a point. You can also go down 1 and over 1 the same way, and then we can simply just draw our line through our points, and we have our line just by using slope-intercept form. The only thing we want to make sure we do is label our line y equals x plus 3. So as you can see, this was a lot easier than having to use the slope formula to go ahead and find our slope and then try to graph our line using that slope. So let's do number 2. Graph the equation 5x plus 4y equals 8. Hint, transform the equation so it is of the form y equals mx plus b. And that again is our first step when we want to graph slope-intercept form. We have a hard time looking at this equation up here to figure out where's our slope and where's our y-intercept. So let's write it down as 5x plus 4y equals 8. And then let's solve for y so we can get it into this form. So we can subtract 5x from both sides. And we're left with 4y on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have 8 minus 5x. And now to get y by itself, we can divide by 4. And if we divide by 4, we have to divide everything on the right-hand side by 4. And we're left with y equals 8 divided by 4 is 2 minus 5/4 x. So now, this doesn't look like slope-intercept form. You might not realize it because it's mx plus b. So if we need to, let's rearrange it so it's in that form. Y equals negative 5/4 x plus 2. So now we have y equals mx plus b. So now we can name the slope and our y-intercept. So our slope is where our m is, so that's going to be negative 5/4. And then our y-intercept is our b, which is going to be 2. And now, if we're using our y-intercept, we can plot a point. So if our y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, then our point is 0, 2. So we can go 0, 2, plot the point, and now we have a slope that's negative 5/4. So that means, because it's negative, if you remember from yesterday's lesson, our slope should start in the left-hand corner and go down to the right-hand corner of our graph, because it's like we're running down a hill. So it's declining. So if we want to go negative 5/4, then that means we have to go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can go up 2, but that means we have to go over 4, but to the left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now if you start at this point and you go down 5 and over 4, you end up here, down 5, over 4. So now we can draw our line, and we can label it. And we graphed using slope-intercept form. So this is something that you're going to have to memorize the steps, and you're going to have to memorize the equation in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept.